What's up, meatbags? It's the often imitated, never duplicated Tony TGD coming at you with another video. I'm joined by my man, Blinded Braille. What's up, Blinded?
I'm good. Still feeling under the weather, but I'm getting through it.
You got to eat some of that chicken soup. Uh,
Yeah, I need something hot.
we were talking about hot chicks last night. You should have been on there.
Oh
Um,
yeah, that was I seen that. That was pretty funny.
but that is not the topic of discussion for tonight. No, no. For tonight, we're going to be talking about Mikey Sutton, Geekocity. Is he a scooper or a pooper? Does he make things up? Is he just a speculator, a rumor monger? We're going to discuss that. How you feeling about that, Blinded?
Well, after yesterday, I don't know, if I'm being honest. But
Uh,
we'll jump into it because there's some interesting points.
Before we jump right into it, some people might not be familiar with what happened yesterday. They might not have seen the stream where you were on with Mad Max. You want to give us a little TLDR?
Well, essentially, I came in to give a different side of Mikey's scoops and, in general, the scoop game about how, you know, what is a rumor versus a claim and whether something pans out to be true or not. And that was kind of my argument going into that stream.
All right. So before we really get into it, dive into it, I think we need to kind of define what a scoop is. You know, because a lot of people throw this around. They're scoopers, and they're kind of vague as to exactly what a scoop is. From my understanding, as the dictionary tells us, a scoop is when you break the news on a story. You're the first person to do it. Uh, would you agree that this is an accurate definition? Do you want to add to it?
Uh, I would say a scoop is, some piece of news that is something true, right? Like, hey, there's going to be, I don't know, a football game next week, right? And you're telling your buddy, right? Or this is in the newspapers. And this is the first time it's ever being said, right? So that's kind of like a simple example.
Yeah. So I guess we both kind of agree that in order to be a scoop, the information has to be accurate and correct. Um,
Yes. And new. It would technically have to be a new piece of information.
and yeah, delivered new. So there's a Google Doc going around that has various quote unquote scoopers on there. We're going to share a little bit of it. It sort of tracks all the people in the scoop game. You briefly tried to bring this up and mention it on the stream last night. You kind of shut down
Yes.
because you didn't create this document.
Yes, this is
Uh,
something that a poster on Reddit, I apologize, I don't have his username up, but he created this and he does update this from time to time.
and you have looked through the document. I've looked through it. Have you found any
Yes.
inaccuracies in the document? Is
I
anything
would
inaccurate?
say I would say no. I would say this, especially with other scoopers, this lines up very well.
All right. So as you can see, it is broken down. You got article title, author, category, as to what sort of scoop it is about, whether it's about the characters, plot, movie rights, development, casting. You got a published date when the article is published, uh, whether it was accurate or not, a link to the current web page version of it, a archived link in case the current version is down for some reason, and some additional notes giving sort of a quick overview of what the issue is with the scoop's accuracy. Now, as you can see, a lot of these for Mikey Sutton are unconfirmed.
Yes,
They
to
are
be
future,
determined.
yeah, to be determined because they are so far out into the future. We don't know if they're ever going to happen. We don't know if these movies will ever be made. He talks a lot about secret wars. We don't know if that's actually going to be a thing that happens or not.
Yes, we have no clue if that's even going to be a movie, when it's going to come out. It could be 7 years down the road. We don't know.
Right. So, but we do have some that are confirmed and some that are uh, wrong, I guess, unconfirmed. Um, one of those that are
Debunked.
debunked. There you go. One that was debunked was McGuire and Garfield's Spider-Man will throw off public about Holland's Peter being Spider-Man. So in the article, Mikey Sutton says that basically when the two additional Spider-Men show up, that they're going to somehow, save, crime fight or whatever, and then the public's going to be like, well, how could, Tom Holland be Spider-Man if he's in jail and Spider-Man's out there fighting crime? Which is a reasonable thing to speculate on, a reasonable thing to assume that Marvel would do in order to get Tom Holland out of trouble. But anyone who's watched the movie knows that didn't happen. Now,
Hmm.
like I said, if this was speculation, this would be totally fine, right? He speculated on something, um, he was wrong, and it's no harm, no foul. But Mikey said that he had sources that told him this, right? And see, I think that's the issue. Now, a source should be somebody that has accurate information. A source is not some random nobody off of Twitter. It's not somebody who anonymously emails you. Uh, it's not, the guy down the street who walks the dogs for the old people. A source is supposed to be somebody who's verified, who you know who the person is, you know what they do, you know how they have access to the particular information they're giving to you, and you know that that person is not going to lie to you. That person is, um, at the very least, trustworthy enough between you and him that you know that he's not basically trying to fuck you over. Uh, do you feel that that's accurate? What I'm saying here?
Yes, that is very accurate. Yes.
All right. So, Mikey Source was wrong on this. I mean, it does happen. Even when you take the most precautions that you can, you take all the safeties, you do everything just right, you could still sometimes have a bad source. It happens.
Hmm.
Now, when you do have a bad source, you obviously stop using that source, number one. And number two, you come out and say, hey, my source was wrong. This is what they got wrong. This is what they told me. Yada, yada, yada. Um, but I've never seen Mikey do that. Have you seen Mikey ever come out and say, hey, my source has been wrong? Uh, throw the source under the bus, if you will.
I would say he hasn't done that directly. In a lot of his articles, it either gets updated, but it's never outright explicitly said that, which I think is very important to note, being it very clear. Um,
Yeah. Okay. So one of these that he got right was it says Electro in Spider-Man 3 will be inspired by Stan Lee, Steve Ditko design. Now he was confirmed. It says right.
mhm.
Um, I'm not sure I would actually call that correct. I've seen the movie. The costume is nothing like the Electro costume in the comic book. He doesn't have the big, electrical star on his face. He doesn't have the costume with electric lightning bolts on it. Um, I mean, because it's kind of green and there's some yellow, and the electricity
Any,
does
yeah,
kind of form a star in his head in one shot. I guess you could technically say that it was inspired by the Stan Lee Steve Ditko design, but I don't know if I would give that. What do you say on that one?
yeah. This one is kind of a tough one. You could say that it was inspired by it, or it was it. I don't know. It's not. This
It's
one,
not
I
clear
feel
cut.
like it's not clear cut, but at the same time, they could have easily went with his design from a different, the Ultimates comic, like uh, the Amazing Spider-Man 2, right?
Right.
So, there's different possibilities.
Yeah, and if you did watch the movie, we do know that at the beginning, Electro does start off in just a pure electrical form.
Hmm.
He gets a what is it? A like a an emergency suit that was just like happened to be in like a locker or something.
Yeah.
Um,
Yes. Yeah.
so you know, like I said, this isn't clear cut. You could obviously make claims that they were inspired, um, but this one here, I think, is another one that was said to be right. It says McGuire and Garfield could appear in final scene of Spider-Man 3. They were in the movie, but I don't think they were in the final scene, if I'm remembering correctly, because the final scene is uh, Tom Holland's Spider-Man going to the grave of
Yeah.
Aunt May. Spoiler alert. Talking to Happy Hogan. They're not in the final. Like once the climactic battle happens, there's still more. Like there's still like another 5, 6 minutes of the movie where you got to wrap up the storyline and kind of move forward. They're not in the
Hmm.
final scene, so I think this is wrong. It's written down as right, but I'm gonna go and say that this is actually incorrect. Would you agree or disagree with me on this?
I'm going to agree because one, it does say scene, and that is completely different from saying they're going to appear in the final act, right?
Right.
If he said, hey, they're going to appear in the final act, then yes, he would be right. But a scene is not, it's only a few minutes, and it's not an entire act, right? So yeah, I would say that this isn't completely right,
Yeah,
or
like I
just
said,
flat out right.
there is two additional scenes after the big climactic battle. One scene with Peter, um, what the hell's his name? Ned Leeds,
Yeah, and
MJ,
MJ.
and then there's a scene with Peter and Happy Hogan, and then there's a scene with Peter alone that
Hmm.
truly rounds off the movie.
Yes, and they do not appear in the post-credit scene as well.
Right. So yeah, I would think I would call this one incorrect. So more unconfirmed stuff. We got to wait on this. Scoop confirmed Samuel L. Jackson is given a effing sword. Public information. Um Nick Fury was uh, part of the sword um, organization in Spider-Man: Far From Home.
Hmm.
I believe at the end of the movie, he's out in
It is
space.
revealed.
Yeah.
Yes.
Uh, Scoop MCU wants Catherine Winnick for Enchantress role or more. Uh, Says that it was corroborated, so we'll give him that. This is one of those things, in my opinion, where a lot of names are thrown out for roles, and it's
Hmm.
really, really hard to really confirm whether or not they were actually looking at a particular actor or actress. Sometimes PR agents, make up stuff and say, yeah, they were, they wanted to cast my actor, the guy I represent in a particular role. And the studio usually, they don't, unless it's really egregious or it gets people upset. They usually don't step in and say, no, that's not true, because nobody wants to
Yes.
burn
Yeah.
bridges. Now, report Jack Veal is Kid Loki and Loki. That was right. I'm guessing that's the actor that played Kid Loki.
Yes. Yes.
Scoop confirmed King the Conqueror to enter the MCU plus live. I don't know what LOTLB on King.
Yeah. I'm not sure what that means.
Let's see. Let's. I'm sorry that the page doesn't open up on the same page, and I'm too lazy to change it. But let me look real quick here. Uh, we're in the archive. Uh, LOTB. I don't know. Lords of the Long Box. When I scooped on Lords of the
Okay.
Long Box and the cosmic wonder that Kang the Conqueror will be the big bad in the next Avengers film, that scoop has now been confirmed. Um, no, that's not true.
Yeah,
I
we
don't think
don't
any.
know. We don't know if Kang is the next villain for Avengers. So
And it says Deadline reported today that Kang will be a villain in Ant-Man 3 with Jonathan Majors of Lovecraft Country cast in the role. Deadline clarified, though, that he isn't officially Kang yet, but that's what the source close to the project are telling them. Um, According to my own sources, Kang is set to make his debut in a Loki series on Disney Plus. This could be either a cameo or just reference to him. They added Kang will initially appear as Ramatut as he did in Fantastic Four. Well, that's incorrect. He did not appear
no,
as Ramatut in the
Loki.
Loki series. And in fact, Kang did not technically appear in the Loki series at all.
Yes, that
Uh,
is true.
what
It was
appeared,
Immortus
well, I was gonna say
or
it was a Immortus, and the one who remains was kind of
yes,
uh,
merged characters.
yeah, a merged character between the two. We got a little statue of what is, I guess, supposed to be Kang at the end of the movie or end of the show, but nothing
Hmm.
of actual Kang. And I would think uh, that Kang would be the villain in the Loki series for the next season. I don't see them just, cliffhanger, no second season. He's in another series. He's in something else.
Well, we
Like
do
that
know
doesn't.
he's in Ant-Man 3, and this was confirmed
Right. So I could see him
by
being
that
in Ant Man
trace.
3 as Kang. But also, like I said, I think he's probably going to be in the next season of Loki.
Hmm.
Unless
Yes, that's
Loki
likely.
is in Ant Man, but I don't think he's in Ant Man. So this is one of those that it's not. He was not right. It was, if you want to really stretch your technicalities, um, Kevin Feige interested in Charles Cox returning as Daredevil. He says it's counted as right, but again, this is Charlie Cox did show up as Matt Murdock in the Spider-Man No Way
Hmm.
Home. Spoilers. Uh, it's one of those, like I said, it's very hard because Charlie Cox was already Daredevil. Uh, is this a scoop or is this just an inference because you know that Kevin Feige would probably want the actor that the fans are all clamoring for,
Yes, and Kevin, Fe-
Feige?
I can never say, yeah, Feige. I'm sorry, I butcher people's names, but anyway, he has expressed interest in the Daredevil series before. He said that he enjoyed it, and on top of that, too, we know that Marvel Studios did work on some bits of the Daredevil series, like they were the ones to design the costume. So this is not that big a surprise um, that Marvel Studios had an interest in Charlie Cox's Daredevil.
Yeah. This one, which I think we could put as just plain bullshit, it's unconfirmed now, but it says Scoop confirmed Chris Hemsworth to remain as Thor. Well, Chris Hemsworth is going to be in the next Guardians of the Galaxy movie, and he is Thor. I mean, even if he does not have the uh, Mjolnir hammer, he's still Thor
Hmm.
Odinson. That's literally his name. So there's no way this could ever be proven wrong unless he changes his name,
Hmm.
right? So it's like this is just a bullshit uh, argument to even have. Uh, Thor as a title, which it was in the original comics, Thor was just a title. It was not a literal person because Donald Blake in the very first issue still retains his Donald Blake memories when he gets the power of Thor. So all you
Hmm.
geeks out there who are upset that a female Thor is happening, you're just wrong. Just own up to it. Um, what else we got going here from Mikey Sutton? So he was right again. I guess another Kevin Feige wants Charles Cox as Matt Murdock. We already went over that.
Hmm.
Tobey Maguire rumored to return for a live action Spider Verse movie. Well, if he's rumored, how can he be wrong about a rumor,
Hmm.
right? I mean, uh, is the accuracy that there is a rumor out there? Is that the accuracy? Uh, this is a ridiculous one to even
Yeah,
put on there.
Yeah, this one is. It's also vague at best. Spider Verse movie is No Way Home a Spider Verse movie? I guess you could say so, but there is Into the Spider Verse, so I think that one's a little bit confusing.
Silk being developed into a series for Disney Plus. Um, that is right. This has been something that's been in development for
Well,
a while.
this is another technicality because Silk is not being developed for Disney Plus. It's for Amazon.
Right,
And we
right,
don't
right.
know if this is and that's also something that is mentioned on the additional information.
Let's slide over here.
Yes.
It says, while a series for Silk is being developed, it isn't being developed for Disney Plus. So then he's not right. Should be uh, a wrong, because now you have to bear with me on this. But when you make a claim, the totality of your claim needs to be correct, not part of your
Hmm.
claim. You know, you're not making several claims. Like there's going to be a Silk series, and it's going to be for Disney Plus. That's two separate claims, right? He's not making two separate claims. He's making a single claim that there's going to be a Silk series developed for Disney Plus. So the totality of the claim needs to be correct. In this case, it's not correct. So I would put that as a wrong.
Hmm. Yeah, I agree.
Right here, Pedro Pascal on the list to play Moon Knight in MCU cannot be confirmed. I would say that this was incorrect. I don't see Disney um, casting the guy who plays the Mandalorian to also play
Hmm.
Moon Knight and juggle two series that way. Let's see, a lot of more unconfirmed. Here's a wrong one. Reaffirms Deadpool cameo at the end of Black Widow.
Yes, and this was the first claim that I brought up in the stream.
Yeah, and when you brought up this claim, what were you told? Why? The reason why he was wrong on this claim?
That Ryan Reynolds didn't film the cameo or things have changed during production, which, I mean, if that was the case, I just think it's a little bit odd because the reasoning was because of COVID. But this movie was finished well before COVID, right? Even reshoots. And so the date of when this was posted, I think, is October of 2020
Yeah,
or 2019, right? So, you know, I it just doesn't make a whole lot of sense as to why they couldn't have, filmed the Deadpool cameo around that time. Um, and then it would have been in the movie. You know what I mean? Like, why are they going to, wait so long to film this cameo if Ryan Reynolds wasn't available? I don't know. It just seems you could come up with a lot of excuses as to why it didn't happen, but we haven't gotten any sort of confirmation of where Deadpool is going to appear besides his own movie, right? So it just seemed like a bogus claim to begin with.
yeah, and like it says, the article is Marvel's plans for Deadpool in the MCU. This is not a speculation title. This is a clear, claim. Um, and in the article, he's basically saying that Deadpool is going to appear in other movies. He'll be a PG-13 version in MCU movies, and then still R in his own movies, kind of like how they do it in the comics. Um,
Hmm.
he gives all credit to Tim Vo and his colleague, the Black Knight, for breaking this on Lords of the Long Box months ago. So this claim was broken months before October, saying that he's going to be in the post credit scene in Black Widow with Taskmaster.
Hmm.
Now this is not a speculation. And he does say the current plan, gives himself wiggle room, which is always subject to change. More wiggle room was to have Deadpool make his MCU debut in a post credit scene. Well, if that was the plan, there is not a single verifiable source, not a single person connected to the movie has ever said, "Hey, we wanted Deadpool, but scheduling didn't work out. COVID happened. That's why he's not in the movie." The
Yes,
only people talking about it.
no behind the scenes interviews, no mention of, hey, this is going to happen. And this is something that many writers do. Right now, the No Way Home writers are saying we wanted to have a Toby and Andrew post credit scene, but we couldn't. Right. So if this was going to happen, how come no one, in the production team or Ryan Reynolds or the director have come out and said, hey, this was going to happen? So I think it was bogus to begin with.
Yeah, it does sound like something that was bogus. Like I said, nobody's come out. The movie has been out for a while. No one has come out and said, "Hey, there's some things that we wanted, but we couldn't do because of COVID." Not even a hint that this was even a possibility. More than something bore from the mind of people who want it to happen.
Hmm.
He's got more Marvel plans for Deadpool in the MCU still unconfirmed. I believe it's the same article talking about the cameo. We got here Matt Murdock won't be Peter Parker's lawyer in Spider Man 3. He claimed that
Yes.
She Hulk would be in the movie as the lawyer, Jennifer Walters, and not Matt Murdock. Obviously, this is incorrect. Um, how do you feel about this one? If this was a scoop, again, uh, if somebody told him this information, uh, where did they get this information? Why is the information so inaccurate? We do know that She Hulk is having her own series.
Hmm. Yeah, and the logistics behind this all, because it's very confusing as well. He points out that the Daredevil rights is one of the reasons why he won't be in the movie, because the movie is starting production right around the time when the rights lapse. So that means obviously he wouldn't be in the movie, but he was in the movie and he was filming his scenes between November and December of last year. So it just seems a little bit odd that the reason that Mikey gives here is that this is all due to rights, um, right? And obviously, one of the technicality or the contingencies that they made for this claim was things can change. Obviously, there was some delay, I guess, which means that they were able to make a deal with Charlie Cox to have him in the movie, but it just seems again, right? It just seems a little bit odd that he would come out and say he's guaranteed not to be in the movie, right? And that obviously didn't happen. He was in the movie, and that was the big surprise that he was in it.
Right. And here's he says, unfortunately, Netflix holds on to Daredevil's live action rights don't expire until about November 2020. In order for Marvel Studios to utilize Daredevil, that reserve would have to be expired right now so they can include him in the script and sign Charlie Cox as Murdoch Daredevil to a contract. Okay, first off, it says they're not allowed to do either. No loopholes in this, Your Honor. First off, this is completely incorrect, inaccurate. Obviously, they could approach Charlie Cox, say, "Hey, when the rights expire in 2020, after that, we want to sign you to do some pictures for Daredevil." There's no legal precedent barring them from signing him to future movies beyond 2020.
Mm.
Secondly, the movie didn't come out until 2021, which means that that particular scene, they could have wrote it in there with the anticipation that the rights were expiring, Charlie Cox was on board, and they just had to film that one small scene and then put it into the movie at the end of their filming.
And
So,
and also, in addition, they have done this before, and they have admitted to doing this before. They said that they had multiple scripts for Civil War, one that had Spider-Man and one that didn't have Spider-Man, just in case if Sony didn't agree to, the Spider-Man deal. So, there is precedent for that as well.
All right. Okay. So his next one says Craven the Hunter will be villain in Spider-Man 3. It says corroborated, but this is a wrong. There is a small blink and you miss it potential cameo of Craven the Hunter in the movie, and that's it. He's not a villain. He's not named. He's not
No.
even clearly shown. It's like a purple silhouette of a person.
Yes.
And it says in the additional notes, Craven was originally planned for No Way Home, but the idea was scrapped. Again, it's really hard to know what's in the writer's room, what ideas are just being tossed around, and what ideas are actually being considered seriously without actually being there. His next one was the Chameleon will be villain in Spider-Man 3. This was wrong completely. Wasn't even in the movie. Spider-Man 3 post-credits buzz, possible spoiler. He claimed that the Baxter building would be in the post-credit scenes. Again, that was completely untrue.
Yes. Didn't happen.
So, so basically, every quote-unquote scoop that he got for Spider-Man 3 was been incorrect across the board. And yet,
Hmm.
people are saying that this guy has inside information. He has sources. He must have the worst sources ever. Is he talking to the guy who waxes the floors at the studio? I don't know who he's talking to, but these people are wildly inaccurate.
Yes, a lot of he. Yes, this next claim is also a pretty big deal as well.
Ant-Man 3 headed to Disney Plus. Uh,
Yes, that speaks for itself. It
well,
it
I would
wasn't
put
going to
this.
happen.
I would put this in the technicality, uh, because we do know that eventually, after Ant-Man 3 is released in the theaters, it has its run. It will eventually
Oh,
find its home on Disney Plus, right?
I guess yes, if you can make that claim, I guess.
See, technically, he's not wrong because eventually,
Yeah,
at some point in the future,
yeah. If you go on, you can say all these technicalities for all these claims, right? Half truths, whatever it may be. But the full claim is not true. I think we have to lay it out as that, as you said before.
yeah. And so, if you go into the article, unfortunately, we're not going to do that, but I'm going to give you the TLDR. If you go into the article and read it, he actually says that it's going straight to Disney Plus because Marvel only wants X amount of movies released every year in the theaters. So they're going to put X-Men and like Fantastic Four in the theaters, bumping Ant-Man out of the theater schedule and into the straight to Disney Plus schedule. We know this is untrue. Uh, again, whoever his source is completely wrong and should be ashamed of himself. Unconfirmed, the next big bads in the MCU. Uh, he's throwing out wild rumors of Galactus, Doctor Doom. Obviously, this is easy speculation that anybody can make. Anybody with any knowledge of Marvel Comics, the big villains in Marvel Comics, can throw names out. I can throw the Beyonder. We could say Apocalypse. Is going to be a
Mm,
big villain. Someone like Doom, obviously.
Magneto.
Yeah, you know, all the big name villains. I could just throw them out as potential because there probably are all potential future big bads. Uh, So this is just speculation post, and that's it. Most of this is unconfirmed speculation. Exclusive. This one I don't know why this never got a uh, confirm or non-confirm, but exclusive breaking Marvel Entertainment and works of Agents of Shield spinoff. He's claiming that Agents of Shield is going to get a spinoff based on Quake, Daisy Johnson. Obviously, this hasn't happened, and I don't think this is going to happen.
Yeah.
They've pretty much buried Agents of Shield. Most of it is considered non-canon. I think like everything except for the first maybe like 12 episodes is pretty much non-canon at this point.
Hmm. And the actress herself has come out and said that she doesn't have any plans. Marvel doesn't have any plans with her. So
Yeah, and I believe she's currently in that like Glow series or something.
Yeah, I think she has like a few different series going on.
Yeah. So here's a now there is an article I want to look at because this was not in the document, but I think this speaks volumes to the reporting coming from Mikey Sutton. And again, just a heads up, but the document, all the articles in the document, for some reason, they're not live on the current Geekocity website. I don't know if he's moved over, he's shuffling things around, if the URLs got lost on a boating accident or something, but they're not there. They are all have been archived, but they're no live active. You can even search, maybe thinking that he changed something in the title and re-upload it or something, and it's still there. They're not there at all. They're just gone.
Hmm.
And this was one of the ones that was gone that they missed, not on the document. So we are in the archive of it. It's MCU exclusive, another Spider-Man villain for Sinister Six. First off, there was no Sinister Six in the movie. There was only
Yes.
5 villains. They did not call themselves the Sinister Six. That wasn't even hinted at. They did not act as a group. If you watch the movie, the 5 villains did not actually team up as a cohesive unit. Uh, there was, backstabbing. They all had their own goals, their own reasons
Hmm.
for, you know, being villains and continuing on their villainous ways. But there was not like no team meeting. There was no, hey, we're gonna go kill Spider-Man or something. So he says, while everyone is focused on Electro and Spider-Man 3, Marvel Studios has secrets they have yet to unveil. Yes, the Sinister Six will indeed be coming in the live-action Spider-Verse. So we know that's wrong. Spider-Man verse film, Kevin Feige is planning. And there's one member that will shock audiences more than Electro. According to inside sources, Mysterio is going to return as Jake Gyllenhaal once again, causes havoc. Or Mysterio is going to return as Jake Gyllenhaal once again, causes havoc. And wow, this guy doesn't know how to write. He won
Yeah.
two sort of awards for journalism or something, and his grammar is horrendous. Um, but here's the twist: Mysterio discovers the multiverse is real and tries to use that knowledge to his advantage, leaving the rest of the Sinister Six wondering if he is to be trusted. How does Mysterio come back? It's a mystery for now, but the weirdness has just begun. Well, he's never come back. Uh,
No,
so I don't believe Jake Gyllenhaal has expressed any uh, interest in return as of yet.
he has not said anything about returning or even being in No Way Home outside of the little few snippets from the other
Right.
movie.
And to be fair, this article does say a live action Spider Verse film, so he gives himself wiggle room because again he's speculating on a speculation that he's already made.
Hmm.
You know, this is the kind of things that I'm talking about here. If you are claiming a rumor, you can't have rumors about rumors, right? You can't have rumors based off of other rumors that are based off of speculation, off of some unnamed source that maybe sort of thinks that a thing might happen someday. A scoop is accurate information. It is accurate news brought to light for the first time. Uh, Now there is an argument being made. I heard it made by Mad Max that everybody does it. Everybody, just makes up bullshit. It's the Wild West. It's the internet. Everybody does it. How do you feel about that, Blinded? Do you think that's an accurate, good thing that we should strive to be towards? That everybody just makes bullshit up.
I do not think it is a good idea whatsoever. I think it's a dangerous claim to make in general, regardless of, if this is entertainment. I mentioned on that stream that, in other reputable fields, if we're talking about the medical industry or, law, actual serious, institutions in our society would not, would not allow for misinformation, right? Imagine if you were a lawyer trying to argue your case and you use, false evidence. That would look really bad for the judge, for your client. And, that's not how society works, right? And I
Right.
feel like Obviously these are accredited, more academic fields, but I feel like every industry should thrive for transparency, for integrity, and being legit, right? If we want to have, honest, good faith actors, then people should, you know, take their, credibility seriously. Um, and yeah,
I agree 100%. Credibility is the cornerstone of this whole idea of scoop journalism, right? I mean, if you have no credibility, if people don't trust you or believe you, um, then nothing you say matters. And I think we've demonstrated that Mikey Sutton is not a credible source. He's not a credible journalist when it comes to this scoop game. Uh, how many times does someone have to be wrong before you say, hey, they're not getting scoops, they're not getting accurate information, they're just regurgitating bullshit in order to get you to click onto their website, in order to get you to click on their YouTube video, to send them super chats, to like, share, and subscribe. What do you think, Blinded? How many times does somebody have to be wrong before you just, dismiss them as nonsense?
once they have a bad, 5, 6 times, and we're able to see it, and it keeps happening over and over again. I think everybody, should take what they're saying with a grain of salt, and even completely outright dismiss them, because until we have further evidence, we don't know if that person is true. And this is the thing, it's very hard to quantify or put a measurement as to what, um I'm kind of losing my train of thought here, but you kind of can fill in the blanks. It's very hard to really put a number on how many scoops someone has before we could determine if they're, true or
Legit.
not. Yeah, legit, right? And so I think this should apply to any sort of the scoopster in this game, because we know that a lot of it is getting attention, seeking out, hey, I have something that's hot and new that everybody wants to know. And when it comes to this whole, trend, because I see it as a trend, people need to do the research, look into it, think about being critical of things, and not taking people just based on their words, because as we've shown here, a lot of the information may be false, right? So I think it's important to put out, people should do the research themselves as well to find out if someone is legit.
Yeah. Uh, once someone has a track record of being wrong, I think that's it. They should be at their
Yes.
credibility is shot, and you have to separate claims from speculation. Speculation can always lead to wrongness. You're just throwing ideas out, what you think, your opinion. That's fine to be wrong on those type of things. But when you're making claims of sources, claims of, this is a scoop, this is, breaking news, information that's new and hasn't been discussed yet. Those need to be right and wrong. And if they're wrong, obviously this person has no credibility and they can't be
Hmm.
trusted. And if they're right, then you say, hey, this guy does break news. He does have sources. He does get scoops. This is a person we can trust, and we could, you know, build off of their information. Uh, a lot of times, you'll see someone will cite someone else. You need to follow the rabbit hole. Go all the way down to the first person. The prime source, if you will, because a lot of times
Yes.
it's a game of telephone. You're reading an article that says one thing, you click on the link, and then that article that they're citing says something different, and then you click on their link, and the article they're citing says something different. It's a little, the words get changed just a little bit until finally, Ben Affleck is coming back as Superman, and you're like, wait a minute, he doesn't even play Superman, he plays fucking Batman. This
Hmm.
article's full of shit. So you really
Yeah,
got to
I
be
agree.
careful. I think we've demonstrated that Mikey Sutton is not a scooper. Mikey Sutton is someone who's a pretty decent guesser, someone who um, speculates wildly, and I think personally he does. Uh, lose all those inaccurate, wrong articles. They just go missing in boating accidents, and it's hard to pin him down on the things that he says. He uses a
Hmm.
lot of weasel words. Uh, you know, sort of, kind of. I think sources say
Could.
that could happen, maybe, might. That's not a scoop. A scoop is someone gives you information, and then you relay that information to your audience. They tell you X is
Hmm.
going to happen. You tell the audience, source said X is going to happen. If
And
your
this is
source is,
also
yeah,
something that I want to address, the weasel words, because this is a very important term, right? And this doesn't just apply to scoops. This is applies to advertisement, or if you're trying to sell something. This is a very damning thing to use, right? To use those weasel words can be sometimes very dangerous, right? Maybe not in this case because this is all just entertainment, whatever it may be. But it shows that you're not really making a claim. You're not saying something is true or false. You're kind of in the gray. And that's not a claim. And people should know that. A fact is not in the gray. It's either true or false, or not, a fact.
right. And that's what I'm saying. That's what I was getting at. If your source is telling you things, you should just be relaying what they say. And if your source is telling you with weasel words, not facts, then that's not a source you should be using. Spreading rumors, spreading gossip is not journalism. That's not a scoop. That's
No.
just bullshitting. And I heard another thing that I heard was, you can't verify these sources. How can you verify a source, right? And I guess, when you are not a journalist, when you're not somebody who does this for anything, whether it's a living or just for a hobby or, you know, to try to break into the industry. When you're not doing this, it seems obvious. You're like, oh yeah, of course you can't verify. How could you? No, actually, this is incorrect. This is a very dangerous line of thinking. If someone brings to you information, you need to verify the identity of the person bringing you the information. You need to verify that they have access to the information they're bringing you. Then you have to identify whether or not that person can be trusted by you not to fuck you over. If that person is purposefully telling you the wrong thing, because they don't like you, maybe they heard your reputation, they're trying to screw you over, make you look bad. These are all things you have to verify, take into consideration. Then you have to, as I said before, you need a third party verification. What that means is you show someone unconnected from your website, your YouTube channel, your friend circle, someone that you can trust, a fellow colleague most likely. You say, hey, I got this scoop. This is the information they showed me. I'm going with an article or a video or whatever. This is what they've told me. I'm showing you so that way, if anyone ever questions whether or not that I'm making up a source, that a source doesn't exist, I could point to you and say, hey, go ask Mad Max, or hey, go ask Blinded Braille, or whoever your third party is, and they'll say, yeah, I saw that. I saw the person did send them the information. I saw the person made those claims that he's relaying to you. That person exists. It's not to say that what the person is saying is true. It's just to say that the person does exist and that you're not making this stuff up. That you are actually getting information from someone. Does that make sense to you, Blinded?
Yes, it's well articulated, and I think it was clear. It hammers home the point that you need to verify this information and make sure that this is something that someone said, right? This is not just speculation. This is not just pulling things out of your ass, so to speak.
Right. And if you cannot verify a source, right? If somebody anonymously emails me something and says, "Hey, here's some information," you don't run with it. That's not good journalism. That's terrible journalism. That's just you wanting to want something so bad that you just run with any rumor, run with any information given to you. That
Hmm.
speaks volumes to your credibility, to your ethics, to your morals. Don't do that. That's completely the wrong thing to do. If you want to get ahead by any means, yeah, go ahead, do that. But if you actually want to be somebody with integrity who wants to give proper and accurate information to your audience, you don't do that. You verify, verify, verify. Uh, Anything else we need to touch on this subject?
No, I think this was very clear and concise. I hope everybody sees through it to the ending and looks at, the argument that we've laid out here because I think it is very, well constructed. We talked about this beforehand, and I'm glad that we're making this video. So I'm gonna leave it as that.
All right, and I will say, if Mikey Sutton sees this video, if anyone who's a Mikey Sutton fan sees this video and wants to come on the channel, have a discussion, whether it's live, whether it's a pre-recorded video, we're always up for that. Always, up for discussion, up for a chat with somebody, as long as it's
Mhm.
respectful,
And
um,
civil, yes.
yeah, and civil. Um, and I also want to say, because I know the argument's going to be made, why are we going after Mikey? There's other people that are worse. There's this terrible argument. You can focus on one person at one moment, and other people in other moments. I don't have to focus on everybody all at once at all the time. Okay, that's not how it works. You go person by person, step by step. You discuss everybody. Today I might be Mikey, tomorrow it might be Doomcock, next week it might be Quartering. I'll get to everybody. Don't worry, we're coming. So please hold your horses and don't think that we're attacking this particular individual. Because we hate this guy or whatever. This is just laying out information. I said that we were going to be doing this from now on. When people make bullshit claims, we will be there. We will be the bullshit busters, if you will. Uh,
That has a nice ring to it. Bullshit busters.
yeah, we should. I'm going to copyright that, TM. Bullshit busters, TM. Don't steal that. Uh, all right, then. Love, peace, booty grease. We out this bitch.